Welcome to probably the only episode ever of What It Takes, where we explore what it takes to accomplish various goals. Today's goal: win an A-tier tournament in Disc Golf Valley. Hello, I am your advanced cybernetic artificial intelligence, David.
Okay, that's enough of that. Hi, my name is David Salee, and I am not a robot. But I can assist you in hopefully defeating them in an advanced AI A-tier tournament. Let's take a look at the keys to success. First off, you really need to be able to birdie every hole. Without that, there is just really no chance in being competitive in the A-tier tournaments because your AIs are going to do birdies, they're going to do eagles. I've even seen a few albatrosses in there. But if you can confidently birdie every hole that you face, then you're going to stand a really good chance. Second, you need to be really comfortable with throw-ins, so distances that are just outside that putt range to potentially even a little further outside that putt range. The further the better, and the more chances you'll have at fixing potential mistakes that you've made by bailing yourself out by making longer throw-ins. So being comfortable with those, that is another essential key. Another key is to just stay relaxed and steady. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to make every single shot. If you make a mistake, there are mistake opportunities out there and you can recover from them by not letting them get out of hand, and you can also potentially make them up on various bonus holes. Remember, it is just a game, and thankfully, no matter how bad your scores are, the AI tournament participants will never post those to Facebook. Or at least not yet. I'm sure Per is working on it, but I'm not sure I'm supposed to say anything about that. Anyway, let's move into the tournament that we're focusing on today, which is the Iron Branch Invitational. Now, this has become one of my favorite A-tier tournaments because of its replayability. The layout will be 3 holes from 3 different courses. And the only courses that are available on the Iron Branch Invitational are Harrowing, Grizzly, Crows, Owlwood, and Cahoe. So you'll get lots of practice on those various holes. And for me, it really has helped out my practice on Cahoe and Owlwood especially. Here is the bag I'll be using for the tournament. I am a Fuse user as far as putters and throw-ins go. I also include the compass when I need a little bit of a fade. I like both of the fairway drivers, the Explorer, the Wind Accurate, and the River Wind Accurate. I find that having them both in the bag is really handy. I don't seem to need the Wind Accurate musket, so I go with the Extra Glide Accurate, and then I use a Glide Wind recoil. And the rest have been kind of audition discs. They've been fun to play with, so going with a Glide Skip Havoc for my long range skipper. The Ballista Pro, the Glide Light, has been a monster driver. It's been amazing, so it's been a lot of fun and still learning it in the bag. The Turn Wind Ballista Pro has kind of been a bit of a surprise for me and to find how useful it is. And like I said, I've been trying to audition various rollers, and the current one is the Wind Break Roll Ballista Pro, but not super set on it. Just been using it to try it out, and hopefully we'll find something eventually that I like. Okay, let's get started. Right off the start, we have basically a must eagle hole, par 4, one of the harrowing holes. I like to just throw a Light Glide Ballista Pro up and over. Have a nice soft landing area. Sometimes it'll slide too long, but usually it works out okay. Leaves me with a fairly decent throw-in. Pretty straightforward. Danced around in the chains a little bit, but still got the eagle. Move on to this hole. It's pretty simple, even with the 3 wind, using my Wind Accurate Explorer. Just try and split those trees, have it hook in a little bit, leave a fairly decent putt. And 17-footer with that kind of wind, pretty simple, just throw it dead center with the Fuse. This is the Spider Tree hole, and I usually just use my Accurate Glide musket, try and split the trees, have it curl in a little bit. I try and get close to where the basket is. This time it kind of hung up on the hill, but at this distance with the 47-foot putt, rather than putting, I like to throw it in. It gets a little bit more force, a little more accuracy, and just bury it in the basket. So that'll finish off that section. Now we move on to Owlwood. We'll have 3 holes of it. With this kind of wind, I like to go with the Explorer. Otherwise, I'll use the Musket if the wind is a headwind. Tailwind, just curl it around, get it again close enough for a nice putt. With 3 tailwind, should be able to throw it to the center. I threw it a little pro side, but it worked out all right. This is where the turn wind ballista has really been working well for me. I just move it a little bit down, try and throw to where it just clears that bush, and that nice straight flight and nice straight finish really helps out. Even though it went a little long, it's not too bad with a 21-footer. Pretty easy to put in the basket. And again, another birdie, so this is another routine hole. This is where we can have a bonus. We could potentially eagle this, but personally I'm just going for the birdie. So I throw my recoil just straight up the center and let it fade out at the end. And with this kind of wind and this amount left, I like to line up on the basket but also on the tree behind it. So if it lands and starts sliding, rather than sliding off the island, it will bounce off that tree, leave me in the bush, but there's no foliage effect there, so 20-footer, pretty easy to put in. And that finishes out the Owlwood section. So now we got Cahoe. I'm not a particular fan of this hole, but I have found that the windbreak glide recoil thrown super low will hopefully catch the hill where it splits and starts sliding. It got a little extra slide this time, so the 69-footer coming back with that kind of wind is a little harsh, but lowering it and taking it nice and easy and throwing it into the center worked out pretty well. So I got the routine birdie there. This one is not too bad. It's usually a accurate glide musket, and I try and make use of the stump and the rock that are behind the basket as stoppers, as little backstops. So if that works out, then it usually leaves me pretty close. Otherwise, I have to slide through and throw through some brush, and it's pretty annoying. Oh, this hole, which everyone hates, especially with a 3 tailwind. But the wind accurate Explorer usually works out pretty well for me. With the wind being as strong as it is, I try and lower the aim and try and just clear that fence and land in the safe zone. It does leave you with a pretty far distant throw-in, but again, you know, if you work on your throw-ins and keep them low on the wind, then you can generally make it in there. So pretty routine -10, and that actually puts me in the lead for once. I was really surprised. Thought the AIs would start doing better. This is another wind turn ballista shot for me. I pulled it a little bit too far to the left, but it managed to punch through. With this kind of wind, a 97-footer is not a fun shot, but it's not too bad to be able to throw in. Just really got to work on those throw-ins. So another routine, thankfully. This hole, well, with the wind, I like to, you know, if the wind's going towards the basket, I'll bring it down. If the wind's going away, I'll bring it up. But this is a light glide Ballista Pro, and I want to catch those leaves on both trees to try and slow it down some. Sometimes you can hit the trunk on the second one and go OB, but I got fortunate this time. With the headwind, I like to lower it a little bit because it generally lifts the disc. And 76-footer, it's fair distance, but it wasn't too bad. This hole I'm not a real big fan of. I'm still working on a few different lines. In this particular case, I had the Glide Skip Havoc, which just goes dead straight. Such a great disc, but I actually don't have it in my new bag, but I'm auditioning various discs, generally various times. But if I can get to this location, have those trees in the way, it gives you the option of either forehanding to the left of the trees or backhanding to the right of them. And I opted for the forehand and got super lucky that it slid in, and then I got super unlucky that it rolled down the hill. Thankfully, I'd rather be where I'm at there rather than OB, so I decided, all right, you know, I got 83, let me see if I can do this, and managed to just clear the guard, which was very fortunate. But that cleared out the Owlwood section. I'm like, all right, that's good. Let's move on to good old Grizzly. Now this is a must. You must eagle this, and the reason being is the data that they have for the AIs is pre-nerf of the light. So you have to make this as a eagle because basically everyone else is going to be. The Havoc is really handy for skipping up the hill a little ways and then making it in there. This was one of the rare times that the AIs decided they didn't want to eagle it, which was really nice, so it wound up being a bit of a bonus stroke. This hole, depending on the wind, I'll go with the musket, or in this case, the recoil. I thought that I was going to be okay, where it would just slide up there and, yep, edged up and rolled, and thankfully rolled towards the rock as opposed to towards the water, which it usually likes to do. But nice center throw, a little 54-footer, not too bad, just throw it in for birdie. And so we're doing pretty well so far. The bridge depends on the wind. If the wind is a super solid headwind, I'll go with the musket. Otherwise, I'm just using the Explorer. I want to go land in between those two rocks, just like that. Let it slide up there and give me a nice little 19-footer for birdie. So yeah, so far so good. Now we move on to the next course. And we pick up, another one again. So good practice. We got a 1 crosswind, which actually is pretty decent. This is a fairly friendly one. And I threw this out, and I thought it was looking pretty good until, real close. I almost caught the wrong side of that. But now I have 108 foot, which is not pleasant in any condition. And thankfully with the 1 wind, it's not too bad. So gave it a little extra and managed to get lucky and make it in the basket. This one, I have a fair amount of experience with just because it's hole 1 from the course, so a lot of practice. With this 2 wind, I go ahead and stick with the forehand. I stick with the wind glide recoil and just let it slide, and it managed to slide pretty close to the basket. It's pretty fortunate. So 22-footer, not too bad. Easy birdie on that one. And then working out to the last hole for this one. So again, use the recoil, throw it as low as I feel like I can, let it skim and slide, and this one worked out a lot better to where it slid just in between the 2 bunkers and gave me a 27-footer, so pretty routine there, which was really fortunate. And that concludes the first 2 rounds, and we take a look at the updated leaderboard, and I'm ahead by 4, which really, again, surprises me. So we just have to hold on for the final round. This hole, again, I'm using my wind turn Ballista Pro and just throw it out a little left. Again, threw it just a little bit too much ante on that, but it's going to work out to where I have a 74-footer with a 1 tailwind. It's not too difficult to throw it in. Got a little high with it, but thankfully the basket was kind and decided to keep it. Again, back to back with the turn wind Ballista Pro. So lower, throw it around that bush. It was headed towards the tree, but it's got a little in fade, a little bit of slide, and so it winds up being a 61-footer. 2 wind, I decided, I probably ought to lower it and move it a little bit and angle it, and hits pro side and stays in for the birdie. So last hole for the Owlwood section, and this one I'm usually going with a forehand roller, and I'm auditioning various roller discs and roller lines for this. What I want to do is go down the center and then curl in towards the basket, but instead it caught a little bit of wind, catches a tree, and really, the first big mistake in the rounds. So this one I'm just trying to get close, and instead catch another tree, catch some brush, move to where I'm behind a tree, but 68-footer, at least I felt pretty good about being able to get par on this and throw it in the center. So, first mistake, it's just 1 stroke, but others are making mistakes as well, so it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. This one is a must eagle. With the wind 2 towards the basket, it makes it pretty simple with the wind glide recoil, so I just want to land somewhere to where I have some sort of putt. And even on that shelf isn't too bad. I like to lower it just a little bit because high chain hits tend to spit out at times. This is a bonus eagle if you can get it. With the 2 wind towards the basket, you can take this extreme route and very aggressive, and I like to line up right there, just barely clear the mountain, and hope that it's going to slide all the way down. And with the Light Glide Ballista Pro, it slid no problems, 34-footer for eagle, then that's a really nice bonus. You don't have to get eagle on that hole, which is nice. So with this particular cave hole, with the 2 wind especially, I'm just using the wind, glide, recoil, and all I want to do is make the mouth and then slide as far as it'll go. There's a nice collection area back there, so as long as you are somewhere up front there, then you can get it. So, little 12-foot putt for birdie, pretty easy. Now we move on to the last course, and of course it's Keho. So again, this is one where I'm using the accurate glide musket, line up on those trees, and looking to get some help from the boulder or the stump, and in this case it slid all the way through. So when that happens, I'm reducing as much foliage as possible and just powering through it, and in this particular case managed to power in and get the birdie. So I was feeling pretty good about that. This hole is, and I mean there's so many options that you can take on it. With the 4 headwind, I did not feel good about trying to cut the corner and go for the albatross. So instead I'm like, okay, I'm just going to play this nice and conservative and safe. I've got a pretty good lead, and maybe I'll just go take the long route, get the eagle. So in this case I'm trying to go up and over. That headwind just catches it, pulls it into a tree. I actually get pretty lucky not to be OB, and I'm like, okay, well, I just dodged a bullet there. Let's just throw this, try and get nice and safe, get close. It skids out a little bit, but it's not too bad. And again, make another mistake where it's like 4 wind, didn't make any adjustments. I should have basically thrown that in instead of tried to putt from there. So I lost 2 strokes to the AIs at that point. I'm like, okay, well, I'm still in the lead, so we'll try this one. Playing this one really conservative. Taking the light glide Ballista Pro, which is going to get a huge distance, and just play the forehand, not even going for the eagle. Playing it to land nice and safe, which it did. And 220 left, I'm not even trying to run it because of the OB outside, behind the basket. Just landing close enough. 17, making a little adjustment up just to make sure, land it in there, go, okay, I got my birdie, fine. I've made, multiple mistakes on that, but that worked out okay. And when we look at the results, we wind up having a lead by 4, and that is the A-tier Iron Branch Invitational. So you don't have to be perfect to get the victory. You just have to follow the rules that we've kind of set and hope that it works out for you. So good luck. As an end bonus, I can recommend that you learn to juggle. It's easier than getting 3 stars on Owlwood. Already know how to juggle? Try a new trick like Mill's Mess. Already know Mill's Mess? Then okay, try a 5-3-1 variant that smoothly transitions into a 5-3-1 carry. Thanks for watching. I'm David Salee, and I will catch you next time.